It has been about 5 years since I last used a phone as small as the new $400 Apple iPhone SE, and the thought of going back to one filled me with dread. Justified? Let's find out. Confession: I started off disliking the iPhone SE. It's small, it's not as fast as the iPhone 11, and well, it's got a design I'd had enough of in 2017. But gradually, I warmed to the pint-sized phone, and my opinion changed. So, has it blossomed into a full-on love affair? Have I got a confession of a different type to make? Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the size. It's small, okay? If you've used almost any premium Android phone or any iPhone Plus model consistently over the past few years, going to the iPhone SE feels like stepping out of a Rolls-Royce Phantom and into a smart car. Everything's still there, just on a smaller scale. This is basically the same design as an iPhone 6, an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 8. And this means a 4.7-inch screen on the front, and it felt cramped for quite a while, like my fingers had tripled in size since 2016. If you've been using an iPhone 6, 7 or an 8 for a while, you'll be right at home though. It's more the problem is if you're coming from anything bigger than that. Just like we quickly get used to spreading ourselves out in our living spaces, smartphone screens, well, they're no different, and coming from a bigger phone, well, it's quite jarring. But apart from that, it's practically impossible to visually tell the difference between it and the 6.1-inch liquid retina screen on the $700 iPhone 11. And that's right down to the extreme viewing angles possible. But there's a reason big screen phones have become the norm. It's because our smartphone habits have evolved to cater for our thirst for media. Many of us will spend plenty of time watching video and playing games on our phones. And for casual gaming and some general YouTubing, well, the iPhone SE is perfectly adequate. No, it's not a cinema in your pocket or some other such cliche, and the screen isn't that bright either. But provided you're not looking for that kind of phone, then it's fine. It's colourful, and the speakers, well, they're really great too. For normal everyday tasks like browsing and social media, the little iPhone SE nestled into my palm nicely and became not only more manageable but really quite fast too. There are various software enhancements to help here, such as Apple's swipe typing on that small keyboard. It stops many of my messages simply reading as my fat fingers struggle to get the right letters. That said, there is some evidence the iPhone SE's much vaunted A13 Bionic processor, which it shares with the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro, has been slowed down a little. Benchmark tests, well, they underperformed on the iPhone SE, and scrolling through some apps was less fluid than I expected, and certainly less fluid than on the iPhone 11. I didn't notice any problems when playing games though. Oh, and there's a Touch ID fingerprint sensor on the front. Unpopular opinion, I don't think it's as fast or convenient as Face ID, and I've not been hankering for its return like some. There's no denying its reliability though, provided your fingers are dry. It was around this point that I was struggling to find a reason not to use the iPhone SE over the iPhone 11, but surely the camera would be the thing that separated them. It does, but not as much as you'd think, at least not at first. The single 12 megapixel camera on the SE has been enhanced by the A13 Bionic's computational photography technology and has the excellent Smart HDR feature, and there's also some really great stabilization improvements for video. Sunny day photos look stunning, but it does suffer a little in low light, and it doesn't have night mode or a wide angle mode either. Basically, it's just not quite as versatile. While it does have a portrait mode, it only works when it sees people, And that's where it loses out to the Google Pixel 3a, which has an uncannily brilliant portrait mode with its single lens camera, regardless of whether it sees people or otherwise. And it's another $400 phone you should pay attention to. The Pixel's camera really is outstanding, and it does provide more creative fun than the iPhone SE, in the same way that the iPhone 11 does. But there's little to choose between them, any of them, when you're just taking everyday casual photos. So what about how the iPhone SE compares to the Pixel 3a more generally? Well, the Pixel 3a's big 5.6-inch screen is better for watching video and enjoying games. There's no question about it. Not better in quality as such, just better in the same way you'd enjoy a blockbuster film more on a 65-inch screen than on a 20-inch. But the iPhone SE is slicker and just more polished, particularly when scrolling through some web pages if they're particularly image or video heavy. The Pixel 3a isn't very pretty either, and the iPhone SE is attractive in a simple, uncluttered way. The curvature of the frame is precisely judged, the premium glass back is beautifully reflective, and the whole thing feels exceptionally high quality. There's a reason the iPhone 8 cost $700 when it came out, and the iPhone SE still feels every bit of that cost today. What don't I like? I miss Apple's gesture controls. This is obviously a little old for that sort of thing. And the tap to wake screen function is oddly missing. And the bezels, well, they're not particularly pretty, but the addition of black glass is a masterstroke at improving the visual style. But the big one for me is the battery life. Expect a day maximum with moderate use, and that's not great. Watch video and play games, and this thing eats the battery like freshly delivered pizza. Bottom line, should you buy the iPhone SE? Yes, just be aware what you're getting. The battery life underlines what it should be used for. It's general, everyday, casual use. If you're going to be watching a lot more video and playing a lot more games, it's worthwhile spending a little bit extra to get at least the iPhone 11. I prefer it to the Google Pixel 3a despite the screen size difference, and a lot of that is down to iOS 13 and Apple's many excellent features. That includes Apple Pay, a strong App Store, and the promise of software updates for many years to come. Mostly though, it's because we're waiting to see what the rumoured Pixel 4a will bring. So how about me? Have I confessed my undying love to this little red object of joy? Well, no. My heart still belongs to the iPhone 11 Pro, its bigger screen, its gestures, its Face ID, and of course, its camera. But I can't deny how quickly the iPhone SE worked its charm. If you don't need those features that I love about the 11 Pro, you still get the build quality, the materials, the software, and some of the camera ability and power too. And that's where the iPhone SE really wins. There's this air of familiarity about it, that Apple reliability and trustworthiness, which when paired with those important tech updates and that amazing $400 price, well, it makes the iPhone SE 2020 very hard to resist.